So you would have thought that since Velma ended, that all the articles and news cycles that would come out about Velma would slow down, but apparently they have now ramped up because now the former Daphne voice actor, Gray Delisle, just apparently threw shade at the show Velma. Why that is, I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case because honestly, this show is tearing down what a lot of these people built to work up regarding the Scooby-Doo franchise over the last few decades. And, someone like Gray Delisle, who voiced Daphne, that a lot of people loved the original Daphne voice, it wouldn't surprise me that Velma would be that show that would ruin it all. So let's check out the article and see what they have to say. And this one comes to us from good old Game Rant. And it says, former Daphne voice actor Gray Delisle seemingly shades Velma. Gray Delisle seemingly indicated her disgust when quote tweeting an image that showed Velma as the worst rated animated show on IMDb. This one from Matt John. Velma has not garnered a lot of positive press ever since HBO Max aired its first 2 episodes earlier in January. Among those who appear to be unimpressed with the show thus far is well-known voice actress Gray Delisle, who has voiced the iconic red-headed Daphne Blake in multiple Scooby-Doo projects for over 2 decades. On January 21st, it was confirmed that HBO Max's Velma was the lowest rated animated series by IMDb standards. Delisle insinuated that she is not a fan of the show, or perhaps that it serves the show right for not having her return as Daphne. On her personal own Twitter account, Delisle tweeted the caption, "Jeepers, Velma Dinkley," over a picture of the titular character with the caption, "Velma becomes worst rated animated TV series in IMDb history." Delisle used one word, Jeepers, because it's Daphne's iconic catchphrase, which has been used in Scooby-Doo projects for years. She usually said it whenever she was pointing out something worthy while investigating mysteries with the gang. Now here's the thing, I don't even know if using the original voice actors or actresses was going to do anything for this show. I think this show is just too far gone in terms of its identity politics, in terms of its presentation. I just don't see how this show could have been made better by including the original voice actors. Like, I just don't see how that's possible. So I don't know why. Honestly, if I was her, I'd probably be happy that I avoided this shitstorm. You know what I mean? Like, I would be ecstatic that I wasn't involved in this obvious fail of a project. Now that the Nielsen ratings have come out, I made a video on that already. If you guys missed it, go check it out. This show has been exposed to not even be in the top 10 viewership at all. I guarantee you, if I could have looked past the top 10, it would have been way down the list. And that was after the first episode. That's the one everybody usually hate watches. So imagine the viewership falls off after the second and third episode as you get towards the last episode of the series. So I think that's pretty damn funny. And now, since everything's been exposed, you have people coming out and basically joining the bandwagon on dunking this show. It says, up until the release of Velma, Delisle had taken the role of Daphne in every Scooby-Doo project following the tragic passing of Daphne's previous voice actor, Mary Kay Bergman. Delisle first voiced Daphne in Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase in 2001 and has since voiced the character again in dozens of projects, which include various Scooby-Doo series, specials, and movies. Velma's the first Scooby-Doo property not to feature Delisle's voice as Daphne since Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders in 2000. Well, that's because Delisle is not an Asian woman, and according to these people who make shows like Velma, you have to be the exact race of the person who is the character in the show, otherwise you can't voice that character. So if it's a black character in the show, you have to be a black person in real life, otherwise you can't do it. If it's a gay person in the show, you have to be gay in real life. If it's an Asian, you have to be an Asian. You get what I'm saying? And it's hilarious that they think this way. So that's why they didn't add Delisle as Daphne, I would imagine, and decided to go with Wu instead. It says Delisle's tweet can be left up to interpretation as to why she called attention to Velma's bad press since it started airing episodes in mid-January. Is she showing her disdain for the new reboot with her not being involved in the project? Is she showing relief that her talent would not be associated with this experimental reboot of the classic Scooby-Doo franchise? Is she surprised that a franchise she's been involved with for so long is getting such harsh critique with its latest retelling? Does she think her absence has something to do with it? Velma's harsh response from the fans thus far is something Delisle wants to call attention to. And I agree, I think you should call attention to it. I think everybody should take Velma as an example. If you are in the show business space, if you're in the entertainment space, and you're creating animated TV shows, Velma is the exact thing you don't want to do. Velma is the prime example that quote-unquote hate watching is not real, okay? Hate watching exists to a point, but if people are getting smart now, and they're not hate watching through the actual app, they're not giving the company the view. They're giving YouTubers the view, and that's exactly what should happen, in my opinion. Or you should give a critic the view, or whatever the case may be. Don't give the actual accompany the view because they don't deserve it right off the bat. And it's even more obvious if the trailer for the show is attacking fans from the beginning. You already know what this show is going to do. It's so obvious. So why would you want to hate watch it? That's why I gave people the benefit of the doubt that after Rings of Power, they learned their lesson not to hate watch it and to watch it through YouTubers because it's much better that way. You also serve the political purpose that you're trying to serve while also preventing yourself from helping them get benefits. All of this, of course, is in my opinion. It says whether she's unhappy not to be involved in this iteration of Shaggy and the gang or not, it's possible that Delisle dodged a bullet on this one because despite having the same characters and being a mystery, Velma isn't really a Scooby-Doo show. And that's what I was saying before. I feel like she should be happy that she avoided this absolute mess. It says that goes beyond the fact that everyone's favorite crime-solving dog isn't in the show. The Scooby-Doo characters are much different from the ones viewers grew up with. Instead of finding criminals dressed up as scary monsters, the show revolves around the gang trying to discover the identity of the town's serial killer. Plus, it seems to be focused a lot more on romance. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a franchise veering into a new direction. This show just doesn't feel like Scooby-Doo. It feels like an entirely new show that coincidentally has the names of Scooby-Doo characters. And you know what? That's the thing. I feel like this show was written initially as not a Scooby-Doo show. I could buy that theory. I could buy that this was not a Scooby-Doo show initially, and I could imagine that at some point they probably thought that this show was going to tank so hard, and the only way they were going to get any sort of press or any sort of viewership on this show is to tie it to some sort of known IP that they had the rights to or that they could get the rights to. And obviously HBO Max has all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, so they were able to input Scooby-Doo into this, and they thought that was going to be a good idea. But unfortunately for them, that ended up kind of backfiring, and it didn't work out the way that they initially thought. Now, I'm happy again that this is something that's been going on. I'm happy that Velma tanked as hard as it did, and I'm also happy that the Nielsen ratings has finally come out and exposed these people for the lies that they've been telling, because for the last few weeks they've been telling lies nonstop about how Velma is so amazing, how Velma has so much viewership, so much engagement, everybody loves the show, it's so obvious that it's popular. And yet we've all been saying that the show is not popular, that the show is more infamous. That's what I was trying to tell people like Ronaldo Matadine, who didn't know the difference between infamy and popularity. And unfortunately for people at CBR and other show media websites, they now have to admit that this show is not as popular as they thought it was. So I'm very happy to see Velma has completely tanked, and I cannot wait to see what happens further as the numbers continue to come out week after week. Can Velma end up showing up in the top 10? Yeah, that's possible. If people probably ended up viewing it, maybe not so much in the first episode, but as it got more and more drama, people maybe viewed it in the second and third episode. That's always possible, but the chances of it being anywhere near the top of the top 10 is very slim. I would be shocked if it's in the top 10, and if it is, I would want to see to what level this show actually is in the top 10, and it's probably going to be in the original top 10 if it is in any top 10. There's no way it's going to be in the overall. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.